The Brothers of Liberty, here to remind you what true freedom is. Hello, and welcome to another edition of the Brothers of Liberty, always here to remind you what true freedom is. Today we're going to be talking about Governor Newsom of California. And no, it's not the recall that everybody's thinking about, although I could pretty sure do a video on that without no problem. But we're actually going to talk about a bill that he signed into law recently. It was called AB 1184, and he signed that into law. And what that means is that it will keep patient information confidential for patients who are not the primary policyholder for their health insurer. And also, this pretty much means that children will be able to hide sex operations and abortions from parents. At least that's what the news article said from Yahoo. Um, Now, I do already know that on the books in California that a child the age of 12 or older can get an abortion without parent consent. But now they want to try to hide this from the parent, which in the long run, I don't see how they're going to hide it, considering that the policyholder is going to find out about it sooner or later, unless they plan on telling the insurance not to disclose it, and then that's going to lead to a whole bunch of litigation right there. And if you can't sue the doctor's office, then you can only sue the state. And there's both sides, both Republicans and Democrats, as far as parents who want to be in the decision making for their children and their future, especially things like operations, because in the long run, if something happens, there could be complications from it. Um, this is just another thing that the leftists in California are trying to tell kids, oh, you're old enough to decide about your operation, but you're not old enough to buy a gun when you're 18. But at 12 years old, you're old enough to know what you want in life. Um, Rhetorical irony and hypocrisy right there. Some of these people want the voting age down to 16, but again, you're not old enough to buy a gun, which I find ridiculous. With that being said, this particular bill in question, I'm looking at the medical implications of it because there's going to be lawsuits when it does happen. Um, and what if the insurance decide after they approve it, decide they don't want to have it anymore? Will it then be the parent's responsibility to pay the bill since they were not consulted? Or what if the insurance only covers part of it? Is the minors going to be forced to come up with the rest of the money, or is that going to fall solely on the parents? And what if there's complications? Are you going to blame the minors' parents for the complications and say they're unfit parents? Or are you going to blame the minor? So all of these open up a big legal can of worms for Newsom. And this could be his undoing if this happens on his tenure where lawsuits are starting to happen. Um, they already tried to recall him once, which now he wants to make the recalls more difficult, even though he soundly won them, unless the only reason why he won them was a little underhand dealing, but we won't get into that. We'll let the conspiracy theorists, which some of them are turning out to be true, handle that one. But as a parent, will you be willing to let your kid make medical decisions, especially at 12 years old? 12 years old is barely out of elementary school, going into middle school, not even high school yet. Are you going to let them decide their future that could implement them and damage them for the rest of their life if something goes wrong? Apparently, California has no problem with it. And that scares me. Because if they have no problem with your kids doing things that could injure them in the long run because they may not understand the full seriousness or any risk that involved with it, then I say that's the politicians there should all be voted out. But that's just my opinion. What do you think? Like, share, subscribe, put down on your comments. I know there was someone made a comment on my last video. It's not showing publicly. I saw it on an email notification, and I don't know why, so I have to contact YouTube to see what's going on there. But once again, comment, share with us. And if there's any topics you want us to talk about, email us, brothersofliberty76@gmail.com. Once again, this is the Brothers of Liberty reminding you what true freedom is.